begin by looking at the news of the day. Kenol Kobil share split was, of course, meant to entice investors onto that particular counter. Has this begun to happen yet, or is it still too early to tell?
I think it's still too early to tell because although the split has been effected, the extra shares have not yet been credited into the CDS accounts. So we expect that to happen maybe in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I think that's when we'll fully see the effect of the split.
Now, Kenol Kobil's fundamentals are pretty strong. That's the company's going south strategy seems to be working pretty positively for them. What's your analysis of that? And seeing as cross-listings, especially for countries that operate across the East African region, have come center stage in recent years, do you think this is in the cards for Kenol Kobil and the countries that are currently operating in?
Definitely, I tend to think they're looking, I tend to think they are looking into this because basically Kenol Kobil sees itself as a pan-African oil marketer. So that's why the moving south strategy is really working for them. We can see recently they issued a commercial paper of around 1.5 billion. This is to help them finance their moving south strategy. We have looked at them, they've been at a very acquisition. They've been acquiring a lot of assets around East and Central Africa. So we're looking at them also moving into Zimbabwe very soon, where they're partnering with Engen to acquire around 75 service stations in Zimbabwe. We also looked at recently they acquired a 10% stake in Zambia, a lubricant farm in Zambia, and then we're also looking at them acquiring at least 14 petrol stations in Burundi. So we tend to think Kenol Kobil I've decided to go on acquisition strategy, and I can say Jacob Segman is really bullish on moving to be a pan-African oil marketer.
So what are you telling investors? Are you as bullish as Segman, say, so to speak? What are you telling them? Is this a buy stock, or are you asking them to wait and see?
I tend to think on a mid to long-term perspective, it's a buy stock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kenya Airways, that's a big news for tomorrow. Full year results expected, and you're one of the optimistic ones. You've predicted operating profit to turn around to between 4.4 to 4.5 billion shillings. I wish you'd bet on it as we expect the results tomorrow, but what is some of the reasons why you're optimistic about a turnaround in profits for Kenya Airways?
Basically, I tend to think Kenya Airways, at least in this financial year, the 2009-2010 financial year, at least they've seen improvement in their passenger capacity. We've also seen their cargo movement also increase, although the profitability is going to be eaten away basically by the strike of their staff, which happened early last year. So with this, coupling with this, with at least the increase in fuel cost, we feel this is going to eat into their profits a little bit. But in the overall look, I tend to think they're going to increase their operating profit quite well.
Now, of course, its share price is one of those that has been one of the most volatile on the stock exchange, touching a high of 130 shillings in October 2008. It went as low as 19 shillings 45 in March 2009, and has recently been hovering between 55 shillings, 60 shillings range in the past few months. What's your outlook for the share price going forward?
I tend to think for the next 2 to 3 months, the share is still going to maintain within the 55 and 60 range for the coming months. So I don't tend to think there's going to be a great difference, a great volatility like the one which you saw last year and we saw the previous years.
Let's finally look at the bellwether of the stock exchange, which is of course Safaricom. Now, analysts have been saying in recent days that there's a possibility that the company, or going forward, a reverse share split could be in the cards should the share continue acting as it is. What is your opinion on that? I
tend to think a reverse share split is a bit on the higher side. I don't tend to think the company as a whole will look into that, because as per now, the CMA rules have not included any regulations on or any guidelines regarding the share split. So I don't tend to think a reverse share split is on the offering very soon.